Orlando.
Welcome to the OZone.
Welcome to the OZone.
Welcome to the OZone. Welcome to the OZone.
The voice of massive Magic fans.
Welcome back to another episode of the OZone Podcast, the voice of Magic fans. In the virtual studio today, we have Justin,
Yo.
Al,
What's going on?
myself, Anthony, and a very special guest joining us, Lakeland Magic, Josh Magette.
What's up, guys?
What's going on, Josh?
How's it going? Appreciate y'all having me.
Thanks for joining us. What have you been up to during this downtime of the quarantine that we have going on?
Yeah, just kind of what I imagine everyone else is up to. Just finding new things every day to to entertain yourself and to stay busy. And we bought a house last spring, so I've been doing a lot of house projects my wife has for me. Trying to something new every day that just pops up, and trying to keep yourself entertained.
It's funny because every time we ask that, there's always my wife has a list of things for me to do.
That's how
It's always in that order.
Yeah.
But obviously with it kind of forces us to be creative with how it is that we stay in shape, and definitely as a professional athlete, it kind of forces you to do the same. Do you have a basketball hoop at home? How is it that you're still keeping yourself prepared?
Yeah, no hoop here. We've got a couple hoops in our neighborhood that I've been able to, go in and just get some work in. It's outside, but, it's better than nothing. Been doing some in-home yoga. I have going a little loop in our neighborhood that I do a little run on. And then I have some weights here, and that's, just kind of, mixing those three things in and trying to keep the body as sharp as can be in these crazy times.
Yeah, we got to find a way to be creative, right?
Exactly.
Now, Josh, I know, first of all, congratulations. I know recently you announced you're having a baby girl.
Yes,
that's
thank
due
you.
in November.
Yes.
So how is that preparation coming along? You're excited to be a dad for the first time.
Yeah, no, it's made these times even crazier because we found out while we were still in Lakeland before the season had been canceled, and finding out that we're pregnant, and then all of this stuff hits, and we're trying to get back to Alabama as fast as possible, and it's just a lot of moving parts like everyone is going through. But then adding the pregnancy has been like taking it to the next level of going to the doctor and making sure that the baby's healthy and my wife is in good hands.
Yeah, I'm actually expecting a baby girl also in October.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, so just kind of the same thing during this time frame of going to the doc, because right now they're not even allowing me inside the appointments for the visiting. We just had a virtual gender reveal not too long ago, and we're still trying to figure out.
Yeah, we did the exact
Yeah,
same
we're still trying to figure out the whole baby shower situation. So kudos to you for getting by it, because I know firsthand it's tough.
Yeah, no, I'm driving my wife to the doctor and just sitting in the car while she goes up there.
Sitting in the car,
yeah,
yep.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's what the new normal is right now.
So, Josh, just to kind of get to know you a little bit more, for those who aren't necessarily familiar with you, can you talk to us a little bit about, what growing up was like? I know you grew up in Alabama, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What that was like and how that shaped, your view of basketball.
Yeah, born and raised in Birmingham, a little suburb outside of Birmingham called Hoover. I grew up playing every sport that I knew of, just whatever was in season, I was playing it. And I was the youngest of three kids, so I grew up going to my brother and my sister's games every weekend, traveling on the road with their AAU stuff. So I grew up with the ball in my hands, and that's kind of how I got started in basketball. It was just, always all of our weekends we were either at the ballpark or in the gym, and that's all I knew. So it was pretty natural for me to just to be on the court or on the field.
And now, Josh, who was your biggest influence when it comes to basketball?
Probably my childhood was my dad. He is my little league coach. Baseball, basketball. He was always my coach. I was very fortunate that he had a job that allowed him to be around as much as and be on the court and in the field with me as much as he did. And then when I went to college, I don't know if we're going to talk about that later, but I had a coach, Lenny Acuff, who was like a second father to me, who kind of, I always loved basketball, but he took like my understanding of the game and my appreciation for basketball to another level with just how he thought the game, and he made me a different player than I was before I got there.
How do you feel? How do you feel like your time in college really prepared you for the next level?
That's a good question. Not a lot of D2 guys like have the opportunity to play professionally. So I came into college
Right.
with no, like, playing professional basketball wasn't even in my mind. Like, that's just not the natural progression, playing at UAH and then going on to play professionally. So I was just taking it, game at a time, and just had a couple good first years. And my junior year, my coach would tell me, you're gonna have a chance if that's something you want to do. So after my senior year, I had agents contact me and saying, it's a thing. If you want to be a professional basketball player, it's like a real thing. And I was just like happy to be able to say I played a year professionally, and then I just kind of kept having good years, and I felt like I was getting better as a player. It just kind of has grown every year, and I feel like I'm still like getting better. I don't feel like, I know I'm 30 years old. I just don't feel like I feel like this year was my best year. And I'm 30 years old. I haven't hit my decline yet.
30 years is not old, man. You still got a whole lot. Still got a whole lot of juice in you.
Yeah, no, I'm a young 30.
Yeah, but I mean, growing up in Alabama, I mean, what team did you really follow growing up? Who were your favorite players?
With my dad being like so involved in my sports fandom,
Right.
obviously the Celtics were great when he was like in his 20s. So he's a huge Celtics fan. So I grew up like with the Ron Mercer Celtics teams. Those were the teams I was like forced to pull for when they were very bad. So that's kind of like the baseline of my basketball fandom. But like specific players I loved along those lines, like Rajon Rondo when he was with Boston was like my favorite guy to watch when I was in middle school and high school. And then obviously I love Nash, and Chris Paul is probably my favorite right now.
Nice. That's some great point guards to kind of shape your game.
Yeah,
after.
yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Now, I know you spent quite some time playing basketball abroad professionally as well. During that time and in those countries you've played in, what has been some of your favorite memories or most remarkable things you remember from those times?
Yeah, my year in Greece, it was the team I played for. It was their first year in the top division. So they were just basically over there. They want to just stay in the top division. So bottom two teams get relegated down to second division. So our team's goal going into the season was just stay in the top league. And we ended up winning like 5 of our last 6, and we got into the playoffs. And we were in a smaller city, and it was like something that city has never experienced and never did again. To be able to like host playoff games in that city was like very special and very unexpected for our team going into the season. That's something that really sticks out to me.
So in comparison to your time playing in Greece, for example, what is the biggest change, because you've had experience or you've played at kind of all 3 levels, playing internationally, playing in the G League, D League, and in the NBA. What would you say are some of like the biggest differences and points that you've had to kind of readjust either your mentality or your work ethic to be able to deal with?
Yeah, just on the court, I think the biggest difference is the spacing. There's no defensive 3 seconds over there. So, I mean, teams really pack it in. And when you drive, the referees allow you to be a little more physical than over here. So you've got to kind of pick and choose when you want to, put your body out there and trying to stay healthy. But yeah, the spacing, it's just, there's not as many driving lanes and pick and roll coverage. There's always, 2 guys waiting in the paint for the roll guy. You got to kind of think the game differently than you would over here.
It kind of forces you to kind of have like a switch, right? Because you come from playing overseas where that's your style of play, and then you come back to the States, and then you do have those type of defensive schemes. So where how you would normally treat those situations are kind of different now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. My first year out of college, I played in the Netherlands, and I came back my second year and I played in the then D League, and I was like, oh my gosh, the spacing is unbelievable. I just felt like I had so much room to operate, and like it's like a whole new world was opened up to me.
Now, life in the G League. So, what is that like? What are some of the daily routines? And then, what was the experience when you actually got the call up to get into the NBA?
Yeah, the D League is an interesting deal. It's been great for me and great for my career, but you know, the day to day. At least when I first entered the D League, the day to day was a lot different than what it is now. The resources and the money that, you know, the big clubs are putting into the G League teams now is great. You know, that wasn't always the case when I was first in the league. It was
Right.
kind of like not the black sheep, but it was like, oh, got to go down to the players would come down. They were not happy about coming down to the D League. And then, I'm sorry, what was the follow up on that?
What was the experience like when you first got your first
yeah.
call up?
Yeah, so I played 3 full seasons in the D League, and then signed with Atlanta in the summer. So I didn't have like the phone call from the GM saying we're calling you up to a 10-day. I signed an actual contract in the summer, and then I do remember Coach Bud was in Atlanta with us, and he pulled me aside and said, you know, I was engaged at the time, and said, is your fiance planning on being at the home opener? I said, no. And he said, well, you might want to tell her to be, because you're going to be dressing out. So that was like,
Wow,
my
that's
special, we played in Dallas. So, you know, everyone has like, you can still picture that moment and going into a game for the first time and like kind of taking it all in.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, bringing it back to Lakeland for a second, I know the Lakeland Magic were having a lot of success this season. Unfortunately, got suspended. Thinking about if the playoffs had happened in the G League, how dangerous you think that team could have been in the playoffs?
I mean, obviously I'm biased, but, you know, I felt like we were, you know, I think we had the best team in the league, especially with the roster that we had down the stretch and going into the playoffs. We had won 6 in a row, I think, when the season got canceled, and we had just gone on a really long road trip of like, I'm going to say 6 of our last 7 were on the road, and we won our last 6 against we beat Maine, who was in second place in our league, and Grand Rapids was in 3rd or 4th. So we were beating good teams on the road at their place. So, you know, the G League playoffs are kind of crazy because it's just one game until you get to the finals. But I felt really, really good about where we were and like our mindset, and, you know, we were just playing really good basketball.
Who would you say that's one teammate that you play with right now in the Lakeland Magic that doesn't deserve to be on the G League? Someone that you think that could be in the big league right now?
That's a good question, because we had a lot of good players there this year, especially. When I know Emil was with the big club for quite a while this season, but I think we were like 7-0 or 8-0 when he was either down on assignment or when he came back to Lakeland. I mean, he's like a cheat code in the G League. You know, he's like
Right.
just showing up on the court is like 25 and 12. So like he was a real luxury for our team. It's just like kind of too good for the G League, I think.
With everything that you've been through and now the knowledge that you possess, what advice would you give to someone who was playing college basketball and trying to make a career out of basketball?
It's a good question. I guess I would say is that you're always being watched. Whether you're like on the court playing a game or walking through a hotel lobby, someone has eyes on you, and that wouldn't be like, I wouldn't be where I was if I like didn't have like my character, and that's part of what makes me appealing to teams. And I know that that's one of my strengths is I've got to be like the high character guy and the good locker room guy. And so I would tell younger guys, just, you know, you're always being watched, whether you think you're being watched on the court or at practice or everyday life. People take notice.
So just handle yourself in a professional manner as often as you can, because you don't know who's watching.
There's really no off switch.
Right.
Yeah. Now, one more thing, Josh, that you were a part of this year is playing some basketball for Team USA. That was, I believe, in January of this year. Seems like it was forever ago. Whatever that's happened ever since. How was that experience like for you? How was that? I know you guys played Puerto Rico a couple times and beat them both times. How was that experience like?
God, it was really, really special. Putting on our country's colors, and especially going down to Puerto Rico, because they had just come off of a good showing at the World Cup this past summer.
The World Cup, yeah.
So they were really, really excited, and it was a sold out arena, going crazy. And for us to go in there and be wearing the USA on our chest while they play our national anthem and like a hostile crowd was really, really special, and something I'll never forget. And then to get 2 wins was very important too. You never want to be like this group of G League guys who like don't allow the team to qualify for the big stuff. So that was very satisfying.
And from the time that you've been able to spend with the Magic, what would you say, as an analysis now, what do you think this team is looking like now? Well, before the season was cut short, and what do you think this team can become with the current iteration of it?
I think they were kind of hitting their stride as the season was going. They were still, improving and playing better basketball. I think at the beginning of the year, the offensive end was kind of our not our heel, but it was something we were trying to improve. And I think as the season wore on and guys settled into roles and people were more comfortable in what was expected of them, you saw like the numbers get better and the efficiency on the offensive end was coming into shape.
Now, how was that experience like when you were when you first joined the Magic, and just getting to know the players fresh off the bat? Because obviously you weren't with the team for as long as the players that had the contracts there. How was that process like to be able to kind of mesh with the team and just get kind of plugged in the way that you were?
Yeah, it was great. Everyone was super welcoming and very open to who I was and what I could bring to the table, and just me being a part of the team. And everyone was, from the coaching staff to the guys in the locker room, was very, very just welcoming, I guess is the word. Just open to having me on board.
It's so funny because the games that we watched you play, every time we saw you catch the ball behind the arch, like we were praying that you would shoot that thing up, because the form looks amazing, and 2, it looked as if every shot you took was going in.
I'm glad y'all think that. It's just that's part of it. I mean, 6-foot white guy, I guess, becomes a fan favorite from time to time.
I think I've seen some of your games also in Lakeland. I know some of the highlights that we get to see of you. You put on a show. Shooting again. You have a few games where you've caught fire from behind the arc. So I think we all wanted to see that happen with the team, and we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's a lot of comfort level of like, in Lakeland, I know I'm going to play 40 minutes and have the freedom to do whatever, and you don't want to come into first couple minutes of a Orlando game and fire from 35 feet.
Right.
But that's all part of it.
Do you think that you're content with continuing a G League career, or do you still have ambitions of getting back to the NBA?
I think, like I kind of touched on earlier, I don't think I've plateaued or begin to decline at all. I still think I'm an NBA guard, and I feel like I can contribute to teams winning. And you just like look at the numbers. My year this year was by far better than my year 2 years ago or my year 3 years ago, and I just feel like I'm continuing to improve, and I do have dreams of being like a full-time roster guy.
I feel like every team, it doesn't matter how the NBA changes, every team needs a shooter. And I believe that's like one of your biggest strengths that you have, and being able to shoot from behind the arc. It's not as much as everyone's trying for it to be a skill. It's very difficult to really make that your thing.
Yeah, no, that was my biggest point of emphasis this past summer, and will be again this summer, was consistently shooting. If I'm going to stick, I have to be like a 41, 42, 43 from 3 to be able to, provide value and for teams to have to respect me when I'm on the court.
Now, Josh, we're going to transition into what we call In the OZone with Josh Magette. Pretty simple. We're going to ask you a few questions, and it's rapid fire. You're going to try to answer as fast as you can, all right? Favorite destination in Orlando?
Ooh, Park Avenue in Winter Park, just for like a afternoon walk or brunch with my wife.
Since you mentioned that, I know we got to do rapid fire, but Park Avenue in Winter Park, they have a place called the Wine Room. Have you been there?
I have not.
The Wine Room is amazing. It's just literally a room full of like hundreds of wines, and you
wow.
like pay a little balance on a card. And you just go to each station that you want, put the card in, and you get a sample of any wine you want.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, super amazing place, just in case you want to check that out.
I have to remember that.
But that's after the baby.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
There you go.
Priorities.
Josh, how about one place you would like to visit in the next year?
Australia has always been my bucket list
yes.
Travel destination.
Favorite city to visit when you're playing on the road?
Atlanta, because it's only 2 hours from Birmingham, where I grew up. So I usually have a contingent of people come over.
Who's your toughest teammate to guard in practice during your time with the Magic?
Oh, DJ was a problem on the offense. Was when I was on defense. You know, he's so smart. Like, obviously he's been in the NBA for a while, but like using his body and his setups for pick and rolls, he's very smart and he's a very, very good player.
And last question, Josh. In a perfect world, 15 years from now, what will you be remembered as a basketball player?
Someone that maximized my ability. I don't want to have any kind of regret or what if this happened. Someone that maximized everything I had.
You seem to be someone who is persistent, someone who consistently tries to strive even when it may seem like some doors may close, and I think that's very admirable. How do you think that resonates into who you are as a player and who you are as a human?
Yeah, no, it's just kind of been, I don't have the luxury of like falling back on, like, I'm not like the super like God-given talent and ability. Like, I don't have the 6'6" wingspan. So to be where I am, like, I had to, work harder than everyone else and be, that 110% effort cliche, but like that's how I had to be on the court to survive and to get where I've been.
Absolutely. Josh, I appreciate you so much for joining us. Really fun getting to know you a little bit more, and we're definitely rooting for you, man.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, that's Quarantine with Josh Magette. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the OZone podcast, the voice of Magic fans.
Be sure to visit our website, theozonepod.com, and remember to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on all your favorite podcast listening platforms.